Kash Patel just got caught. Again, I did not think that he could prove himself to be stupider than he has already shown, but Kash Patel clearly loves criminality, corruption, and cover up so much that he just has to engage in them on a daily basis. And worst of all, he's getting Donald Trump involved in this one, and it could be the end for him. We are going to get into Kash Patel's latest scandal, but before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button because it goes a long way in supporting our work. Now, before we get into Kash's latest criminal scandal, why he is stealing millions of dollars from us, I want to start with the last time he did so, because it's important context for what Kash Patel just did, and it's, of course, his jet fiasco.
Back in 2023 and 2024, when the current FBI director was working as a podcaster obsessed with cleaning out the deep state, slashing government spending, he had one specific idea about how to do that.
Chris Wray doesn't need a government-funded G5 jet to go to vacation. Maybe we ground that plane. $15,000 every time it takes off. Just a thought.
Go take their money. Chris Wray doesn't need a private jet.
We're not the guys running around on private jets. And somebody maybe in Congress should ask for how many flights on a private jet Director Comey took, or my predecessor Director Wray took, and how many personal trips they took.
Don't knock it until you try it. That's what I say about private jets. The use of government jets for personal travel by former FBI director was sort of an obsession of Patel's for years. In 2023, Patel called former director Chris Wray a, quote, government gangster for his jet usage, which is why it was surprising to see Patel repost this photo on Sunday of him in his FBI-branded hoodie out on a date with his country singer girlfriend, Alexis Wilkins. Now, Wilkins was performing at a Penn State sporting event on Saturday. And if you're wondering how Kash Patel got there to support her, well, public flight logs show he took a taxpayer-funded government jet. Later that night, that same jet flew from Pennsylvania to Nashville, where Patel's girlfriend lives. Now, I should know, FBI directors are required by law to use government planes for security purposes. It's a point Patel raised in May when Senate Democrats last inquired about his jet usage.
Oh, this is a great point. Do you know why I have to use a private jet? Because Congress made it mandatory.
Okay. In April 5th, well, we didn't make it mandatory that you go to UFC games with Mel Gibson.
Are you telling me I can't go home?
You got to use some judgment here.
I love the logic there. I had to go to the event. So what, I'm supposed to stay there? Well, you don't have to go to every event. Patel's lack of judgment when using a taxpayer-funded plane for private excursions during a government shutdown on the eve of SNAP benefits running out is really just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, we have seen members of the Trump administration taking advantage of government perks, like DHS Secretary Kristi Noem, who spent more than $172 million on private jets. Now The Atlantic is reporting that officials like Stephen Miller, Noem, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and others are living in homes meant for generals on military bases. They say it's for security reasons, though they already have personal security details. And in the past, those people with those jobs didn't occupy these homes. They all seem to be taking Trump's cues. They can help themselves to the public till.
Not only is this an absurd and hypocritical scandal from Kash Patel saying before he was even FBI director that there would be no more abuse of the jets and this is terrible and it's got to stop and the waste, fraud, and abuse. Remember when MAGA cared about waste, fraud, and abuse? Yeah, first of all, they never did. But I think that talking point is long gone out the window, of course, with Donald Trump's useless $60 million birthday party that nobody wanted. But it would be hypocritical. That's just one thing. But for Kash Patel to double down in his defense of it was even worse, considering that this scandal that we're about to get into is of the same vein.
And if I was actually abusing it, I would go see every one of her shows. I think I get to like 15%.
Just to clarify, how often has he traveled to see you since January 20th?
Oh, gosh. I think with Nashville. I've been in Nashville
Yeah, I've been to her house a couple times with her family for the holidays and, birthdays. I've seen her perform this year, I think 3 times.
Yeah.
Is his argument that because he's only abused the jet a couple of times, it's fine? Like, I could be abusing this jet. Wait, you don't even know how much I could be abusing these privileges. I'm only doing a little bit of abuse. Only a little bit. I've only visited her it's like 6 or 7 times. It's fine. Just leave me alone. It's a little bit of abuse. It's not that much abuse. I could be using it every day, and we could be like throwing caviar out the window. Not a good argument, Kash. Really not a good argument, especially if you're going to double down on your corruption, which you just did. This time, not with jets, but with BMWs.
We are back with MS Now exclusive reporting. FBI Director Kash Patel's new vehicle is raising eyebrows in Washington. We're learning Patel had the FBI purchase a high-end, specially armored BMW to drive him around, and this is according to 4 sources familiar with the matter. Now, FBI directors are traditionally driven in a Chevrolet Suburban. Let's bring in MS Now senior investigative reporter Carol Leonnig, author of Injustice: How Politics and Fear Vanquished America's Justice Department. Carol, you and Ken broke this story just this morning. What more are you learning about all of this, and how is the administration justifying this purchase?
Well, Anna, thank you so much for focusing on it. It's been kind of gobsmacking for FBI officials, both former and current, as they have described to us this purchase of a small fleet of armored BMWs. You know, armored BMWs have traditionally been used in really unusual places, green zones, like actual areas where war is close by in the front line, usually internationally. There is no precedent for an FBI director to have an armored BMW, much less a fleet of them. The government, typically, the FBI provides directors a fleet of Chevy Suburbans to get him safely from place to place with a detail and a driver. But in this case, Kash Patel ordered the purchase of 4 BMWs with this special armored plating around them.
Who is this guy? Kash Patel is like if you gave a child the FBI budget and were like, run wild. Kash Patel wears like a youth medium, so that makes sense. He's a very teeny tiny little petite little fella. So like I guess it makes sense. But it's like what was the Home Alone, like in the second one, which we don't acknowledge who was in that movie. But when he's like running up the tab and getting the ice cream and ordering the room service, like that's Kash Patel with the budget of the FBI, which is billions of dollars that he's wasting for fun little toys to impress his Mossad agent girlfriend. Like that's what's going on right now. It is desperate, it is sad, and it is costing us money. This is a ridiculous scandal, and hopefully Donald Trump will recognize how much this guy embarrasses him on a daily basis. How could you be fine with this? I don't know. He loves the sycophants. He loves people who are always going to be undying cultists. But sometimes the undying cultists, they kind of kill your term. And that is exactly what Kash Patel and Pam Bondi are certainly doing with their cover-up of the Epstein files. We know it's what Donald Trump wants, but they botched it so much that it might even be more hurtful at this point. And Robert Garcia, who has been leading the charge on this issue, calling out both Kash Patel and Pam Bondi, the DOJ and the FBI. Clip you're going to want to see right here.
Well, let's just start by being very clear. The DOJ and the Trump administration completely missed the legal requirement to actually get all of the documents out to the American public. And so right now, they are defying the law. They are defying Congress. They have not met, which is with a very simple standard laid out in the law that was bipartisan. And so they are illegally right now trying to catch up to what Congress mandated for them to do. So it's unacceptable. It needs to be called out. Of course, we've been planning and looking at legal options to continue to push for that release, and that continues. And as far as what they have put out, I mean, it's laughable that this is an administration that claims somehow that they're being transparent when most of what they put out was either A, already public record. So much of the documents, could be as much as half of them, were already in the public record. And what the other pieces that they released were highly redacted. And in some cases, entire documents, not one word was actually left on there for the public to see. So this idea that somehow they are being honest with the public, what clearly is happening is a White House cover-up. They are now trying to cover up the truth. So it's incredibly important that Congress and the American public and the survivors who are really leading this effort stand strong and continue to push for the release of all of the Epstein files.
One of the things that stood out to us was that the DOJ released some photos, then pulled them, then put them back after people started asking questions about it. One included an image of Donald Trump. And then at one point, there were hundreds of pages almost completely redacted, as you point out. But then after criticism and pressure, the DOJ reposted some of those documents with fewer redactions. The DOJ says they're just trying to protect the victims or survivors, and it has nothing to do with President Trump. Do you buy that explanation?
Absolutely not. Look, the Oversight Committee early on pointed out we had done, when the first files and the first dump had come out, the very little information and photos that were new, we, of course, documented those immediately. And we noticed pretty quickly that within hours, they began removing some of the documentation, and particularly the one photo that included pictures of Donald Trump. And so we called that out instantly and made it very clear as to why was the DOJ posting photos of Donald Trump and then removing them pretty quickly after. And this idea that we're now supposed to believe what the DOJ and Pam Bondi say, Pam Bondi is the person that said that the files were on her desk months ago. The Trump administration has been saying that they wanted to release the files from day one, and then they went all in to try to stop the release. They have not complied with their oversight subpoena. They tried to stop the law in front of the Congress. And so now we're supposed to just take them at their word that they're trying to do right by the survivors. The survivors have asked the president and the White House for a meeting to communicate them, to sit down and listen to their concerns. And so that's what the White House should be doing if they want to actually protect and support those survivors and those that have been brutalized and abused by Jeffrey Epstein. So what I hope at this moment the American public knows is clearly Donald Trump and the administration are leading a White House cover-up.
Well, the Justice Department says they have 200 plus lawyers working around the clock, reviewing each individual file for release. They say it's an arduous process and that some court orders can slow it down. We know Congressman Ro Khanna is expecting more Epstein files to be released this afternoon. Have you gotten any heads up on what could be coming in the next trove of documents or files that are released? And do you have any sense of how much more exists out there that will eventually need to be released?
Well, to be clear, vast majority of the Epstein files have not been released. And we know this just from reporting and information that the DOJ has put out in the past about the amount of data that they actually have. And so if you kind of make a comparison, it's clear that there's an enormous amount. A vast majority of the files have not yet been released. We've also heard that possibly there might be more coming later this afternoon. Whether that actually bears out, we'll wait to see. But what the public wants and what the survivors deserve is information about their cases. They deserve justice around the powerful men who abused and raped women. If the White House thinks that they're going to continue to release information, but redact it in a way that protects pedophiles, that protects the powerful and rich and wealthy men that abuse these women, they have not seen the fury of the American public. And certainly they don't understand that the Oversight Committee and others are not going to stop until we get justice for them.
We are so fortunate to have a young leader like Robert Garcia who knows what it means to fight, who has organized such an incredible team, who will not take any shit from this Trump administration. We are backing him all the way, and we are going to continue to call out this cover-up every single day on the show. If you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. If you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. Keep on fighting, y'all. Don't let them silence you. And until next time, I'll see you soon.